Good morning, everybody, and welcome into a Monday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny Mack, John McMullen. John, we got a great week ahead of us, the last week of the offseason until the Philadelphia Eagles are on the football field. We are 8 days away from them reporting to camp. We are 9 days away from them taking the practice field, and we are 52 days away from that opening kickoff. J Mac, how you doing on this Monday morning, brother? How was your weekend?
Doing well. How was my weekend? It was a very busy weekend. Today's an embargo day for people that know. You've seen about 100 Nick Sirianni stories this morning. A certain embargo was lifted, so that's why you see all that. So I was working most of the weekend. Kind of flew by. Not much R&R, but it's really. The start of it has already started for us, the people that cover the Eagles. So while they don't report till the 22nd, which is a week from tomorrow, still underway for us, so to speak.
Yeah, no doubt about it. John, doesn't feel like it ever stopped being underway for me. For me, that's kind of part of the nature of the beast, but that's all good. John, anything top of mind on the embargo being lifted on Sirianni? I saw the story you put up about his response to the Jalen Hurts criticism. Anything else out there that Nick's, about the embargo that was lifted on the Sirianni intel or the Sirianni conversations that were had that you want to share with the great people of Birds 365?
Well, I think there's a lot of interesting aspects. His messaging, which we talked about, there's sort of like a soft, you're going to see that all over the place. There's sort of like a soft ban, not an official ban, but a soft ban at the NovaCare complex on the repeat word. So you're going to hear that from fans a lot, but you're not going to hear it inside from the Eagles' perspective. And that's, understandable from the standpoint of trying to stay in the moment. So a lot of these things you've heard as philosophy is what has gotten the Eagles to this point to begin with. So it's not shipped it off from that standpoint. More interesting tidbits like, Peyton Manning spoke to the leadership committee in the offseason. That to me was very interesting. Jalen had mentioned publicly prior, but he had talked to, being a Jordan brand, he's got access to Jordan himself and Derek Jeter and people like that. He spoke to them. Michael Johnson with Nick Sirianni, Olympic gold medalist. So they've gone to a lot of successful people to figure out how to handle success because it's different. Adversity, you're going to have it. You almost expect it. Not that it's easy to deal with, but everybody understands you have to deal with it. Whether it's in your personal life or in your professional life, it's going to come. A lot of people just gloss over handling success, and it could be just as damaging if you
Almost harder sometimes, John.
Yeah, as Nick said, he always uses the perfume analogy, but he mentioned if you're looking back and patting yourself on the back, error, he called it. Just as you're looking ahead and saying repeat, error. That's sort of the mentality. That's sort of the path forward, which is probably not going to surprise people because that's what it's been. And that's what, he calls it sustained success. He doesn't want to use the word repeat. And they've already had that. The whole idea, and this really goes back to Andy Reid, to be honest, in 1999. The whole idea is to be good. So when the stars align, you're in a position to take advantage of it. And that's what happened to the Eagles last year.
Yep.
Stars
Michael Jordan
align.
and Derek Jeter, though, John. Those are two good names to talk to about repeating success.
Yeah. And, not everybody has access to them. Jalen does. So that part of it was interesting to me. I also tried to ask Nick about his off-season projects. He's very passionate about. He's since he's gotten here, he's always talked about his off-season, and this might be only interesting to me, but he's always talked about it, and he gives projects to various coaches. And I'll be honest, I tried to glaze him a little bit, and I almost got him. I said, "Do you want to?" I asked him basically, you're passionate about these things. Can you share anything with us? And he started, and then he caught himself. And
You almost got it with a little bit of glaze, John.
I did it. I did it purposefully. If Nick is listening, I did it purposefully. I almost got him, but to his credit, I didn't get him. And but that's the thing about Nick Sirianni. There's a lot of people talk about winning outside the margins. It's become a cliche. Do the little things. He practices it. Like he caught himself. Like if there's one person reading that asshole McMullen outside and saying they know we're working on this. One of the few advantages you have week one is, if you want to roll out something new, if you want to do something different, that nobody knows you're going to do it. It's basically an unscouted look. I think one of them might be the fullback and, the big packages with Johnny Wilson at receiver and just, running it down people's throats. Not a lot, but more than we've seen it. I think that's going to happen, but I can't say it for certain. I was hoping Nick would let us in on that, but he wants that little tiny advantage for however long it is. And yeah, he wouldn't bite, but I gave it a shot.
Do you have any idea what some of those passion, even if they were in the past, of I'm trying to think of an example. Is it football related? Is it personal life related? What kind of passion projects are you talking, or do you have no idea because he's been mum about it?
It's definitely does a lot of studies. It's one of the reasons why the Eagles have been ahead of it from a game management perspective. He basically likes to give all this assistance, a project in the offseason to sort of break down what other teams are doing and sort of try to find a tweak that can be an advantage for the Eagles. Like I said, this year, you saw some of the tweaks, and a lot of them are just coaching changes as well. But sometimes the tush push is the best example. They didn't use it in 2021. But he sort of used it a little bit in Indianapolis. I think people don't realize what Jacoby Brissett, and he sort of started thinking about it. And, one of the reasons why is because he did a study. It might go the other way. As I said, his teams have now overcommitted to stopping it. Who knows? They might do what I said and say spread the field out and let Jalen Hurts work. So it could be something as simple as that. But he always does those little things, and he's very passionate about it. But sort of like Vic, he doesn't want anybody in and let anybody in on the secrets.
Yeah, no doubt about it. John, another couple of things we got to talk about. We got the great Jeff Kerr coming up today. I'm looking forward to that. I want to welcome and thank everybody for being here on a Monday morning, everybody. Football season. It's so close we can almost taste it, everybody. So next week they'll be on the football field. Next Tuesday they report. Next Wednesday they take the field for their first training camp practice. Johnny Mack will be live and in attendance. So stay tuned, by the way, for Birds 365 updates, because obviously mid-July, very hot in the Northeast. So they might move practice up. If they do move practice up in the morning, or they're a morning type of show or training camp, we will push our show to the evening. So stay tuned, and we'll let you guys know when we're doing Birds 365s all throughout training camp. So we appreciate everybody for being here. John, we got plenty of stuff to talk about. We're almost down to the bottom of the top 25 list that you and Ed have done. We are down to number 4. Number 5 last week came in Jalen Hurts. Number 6, Jordan Mailata. Number 7, Cooper DeJean. Number 8, Landon Dickerson. I will rattle off the rest of those names to you. But also another thing that came out today, and we'll talk about Nick Sirianni some more with Jeff Kerr. Another thing that came out today, Jeremy Fowler put up there is like a poll of coaches and GMs in the league.
It's coaches, executives, and scouts. So basically, personnel people. But there's a little bit difference from the standpoint of executives versus scouts. But he came out. He does it every year at every position. Came out with the quarterbacks this year today. which is interesting because the embargo lifted and Jalen Hurts, which I also wrote about it, SI.com/NFL/Eagles, his defense of Jalen Hurts, because he was asked about, the mentality around, at least in some quarters, that he was along for the ride with the most talented roster in football. And Nick immediately said, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Basically, like right off the. So I don't know if he was prepared for it, but anyway, I think it's more relevant now that list came out, because that list came out with the top 10 quarterbacks, and predictably Jalen Hurts was not in the top 5. I've been warning people about that with scouts, and they don't consider him top 5. A little bit lower though than I expected, at 9, specifically though behind Jared Goff, which to me, like, you could put him at 8 and I'd have no problem. I can't put him behind Jared Goff. But, I think a lot of people don't understand. Most teams, when you bring coaches and execs, not necessarily scouts, but when you bring coaches and execs into it, which I've also explained, most teams don't want to play or have no desire to play like the Eagles play.
Right.
So that factors into
I
it.
think that's an underrated fact that people might not be ready to accept in Philly.
Yeah, no question about it.
Yeah.
Or at least can't wrap their heads around it. Like, they're the best team, and one of the best teams certainly in the modern generation, I think. So why wouldn't you want to copy that? Well, one, because it's very difficult to copy it. It'd be a year-long process. And two, we talk about people probably roll their eyes. They roll their eyes at Sirianni. They roll their eyes at me probably for saying increase the margin of error. Most teams don't want to play this way.
Right. 9 feels egregious though. Holy crap. 9? And Jaden Daniels was number 5. So that's a feather in your cap, as we've debated Jalen versus Jaden this summer.
I talked to, I don't talk to as many coaches and execs as Jeremy does. But I probably talk to more scouts, which to me is even more relevant, because those are the guys who get in the nitty gritty, the nuts and bolts of particular players. And also there is some jealousy when you're the Super Bowl champions with,
I agree with that. Yeah.
With executives, especially. There is some jealousy, not so much with scouts. I don't think there's that much. So I think they're a better sounding board. I think they're a better resource. And yeah, he's not top 5. Consider it to be top 5. And he's very good.
I mean, he clearly wasn't in this thing, but the scouts aren't always right. I mean, let's be real. Look at how many missed draft picks there are in the NFL.
It's not an exact science.
Yeah, well, for sure. I mean, there's a subjectivity to it. Obviously, there's opinion. There's, different people analyze different ways. So I get all that, but there's no perfect science, as you just said. And I don't know. I think they're wrong on this one. I'm sorry, but 9 seems egregious to me.
Yeah, well, I think one player stood out to me. It's like, but I think that's explained by,
who did they have at 6, 7, and then you said 8 was Goff.
Let me pull it up real quick.
Sorry, I don't know. Was it behind a paywall? I don't think it loaded.
Yeah, it's behind a paywall.
Everything's behind a paywall nowadays, John.
Yeah, I know.
Drives me crazy. I got most of them, but
so one, well, believe me, I wouldn't pay for it. But one is,
it's a business expense. Write it off, J-Mag.
One is Patrick Mahomes, which he shouldn't be one at this stage. But again, reputation, things like that. 2, Josh Allen, who was the MVP. That's not a surprise. 3, Joe Burrow. Actually, I think that was a little low. I think scouts would put him at 1. I know scouts would put him at 1. But he's number 3. Lamar's number 4, which that top 4 whatever order you want to put them in, you can put them in any order you want. That's pretty much a consensus, as much as you get around.
Which I would agree with. I think the only difference is I think Jalen is in that category in a very different way, but in that category. But those top four, there's no doubt, those are four of the best quarterbacks.
And it's rare you see that, by the way, where it's like a legitimate consensus.
Right.
Like I might talk to 8 to 10 guys, and not one of them had a different name in the top four, which is extremely rare.
Right.
Extremely rare. So number 5 was Jaden Daniels. And again, I've talked about, I know how much people in the league love him from a talent perspective. But I mean, if you want to bring longevity into it, obviously he doesn't have that. Conversely, 6 has that and is probably descending. And that's Matthew Stafford. Not probably, is descending. Not what he once was, but still he's much more well regarded inside the league, I think, than outside the league. Like everybody inside the league. I used to tell Jody this. They freaking love the guy. Love him. And I think people outside the league, it was a slog to get there when he was in Detroit. And then he won the Super Bowl in Los Angeles. And now everybody's like, yeah, he's great. And he is great, but he's 37 and he's not what he once was. 7 is Justin Herbert, who everybody loves. And he's getting better with a better coach. So I think that's a name to keep an eye on. 8 is the one I had a problem with, and that's Jared Goff. To me, he's a complete system quarterback. We'll see if, without Ben Johnson, how that translates. They still have a great offensive line, even without Frank Ragnow, compared to most teams. Maybe not the Eagles, but compared to most teams. They have great skill position players. They have everything in place. So we're going to learn a lot about Jared Goff this season. And Jalen Hurts was number 9. Baker Mayfield was number 10. And CJ Stroud fell out. Jordan Love, they were the next ones. I think both had down seasons from what they had the year prior. So they'll be right outside. And then others receiving votes were Kyler Murray, Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott, Aaron Rodgers still getting some love. Tua, this is absurd to me. And Bo Nix, which is kind of absurd to me. But nonetheless, there you have it. And don't give Jeremy hate mail. It's a poll of other
it's not
people.
Jeremy. He's just the putting it out there. He's just
the messenger. It's
a
poll of other people. Not so. And again, if you don't like it, just turn to the next list.
Well, I do think there's some, certain people can make lists and it's easy to turn on. It's easy to turn the page. When you get a list from, scouts and coaches and execs, I think people will look at that a little bit longer. And I think that makes sense. But again, I would point to everybody and say they're not always correct. All right. They've never been always correct. That's part of the nature of the beast. John, we got Jeff Kerr coming up. I don't know if we're going to be able to get through where we are. We got Jeff checking in now. So maybe we'll push the top 25 countdown to a little bit later on in the show today. But let's just give out number 4. All right, let's just give out number 4, and then we'll go to Jeff Kerr. Number 5 was Jalen Hurts last week. Number 6 was Jordan Mailata. 7, Cooper DeJean. How about that? Coop coming in at 7. Number 8, Landon Dickerson. Number 9, Devontae Smith. Number 10, Quinyon Mitchell. Maybe the most egregious on the list for you, Ed, John, is Zach Bond at number 11. Jurgens at 12. Goddard at 13. Nolan Smith at 14. 15, Reed Blankenship. 16, Nakobe Dean. 17, Jordan Davis. 18 was Moro Ajomo. 19 was Jalix Hunt. 20 was Jake Elliott. 21 was Keely Ringo. 22, Jahan Dotson. 23, Adoree Jackson. 24, Matt Pryor. 25 was Jahad Campbell and Drew Makuba in a tie. And number 4, Johnny Mac, is who?
Wow, you caught me. I was reading Jalen Hurts stuff. Sorry.
I was rattling off the list. We're down to number 4. Who do you got?
Now I got to pull up the list. I was counting on you. I got caught. Number 4, I was debating who was number 4. and it was Jalen Carter, who was the number one defensive player on the list, which you start talking about last year's team and say, well, the defense was better than the offense, but the top three players are on offense. So, how does that work out? Well, they lost a bunch of good defensive players that would be on this list. Not this high, but and Jalen Carter, you could argue, should be above that. But he's still young. Second team All-Pro in his second year. And Vic Fangio said it best. I forget, maybe Jeff remembers. Somebody said, might have been Trotter Sr. said, he doesn't even know what he's doing yet. And he's that good. And Vic kind of agreed with it. Yeah, he doesn't know. And he's already that good. So Vic had said, the good thing about Jalen Carter is he played very well for us last year, and he's got a lot of room to improve. And people around the NFL should be scared of that thought because as the technique and the fundamentals get better and better and better, look out. As I said, this is the most talented Eagles defender, regardless of position, in many, many years. You probably have to go back to Reggie White. That's how gifted he is.
That's a big statement right there. I mean, we've had some great players.
Yeah,
on this.
That's how gifted he is. Doesn't mean he's going to live up to those gifts. Joel Embiid, 76ers. But that's the kind of physical gifts he has. And it would not surprise me if he were number one on this list for many years to come, as early as this season.
No doubt about it. Johnson, we got three players left. It's Lane Johnson, it's Saquon Barkley, and it is, who am I missing? Why am I? Oh, and AJ Brown. Obviously. Yep. So those are the three players left. We'll give you guys the order of how they come in, but man, we got a good list, good list of team here. And we got the great Jeff Kerr. Last week, we had no Jeff Kerr. Jeff Kerr, Birds 365 was not the same last week without you, my friend. Let's go to our main man, Jeff Kerr, joining us right now from CBS Sports. He joins us on the show